Hey y'all, it is your favorite nerdy girl here, Nerdygirlreviews, and we are back with a recap for the new Netflix limited series Vladimir, currently streaming. What a roller coaster ride, I will say. I did find it a lot more interesting, dare I say, than Love Story. It had a more of an edge to it. Um, it's definitely wrapped in like a comedy, I want to say. And it feels very much like a play. And correct me if I'm wrong to all the Vladimir fans, because this is a novel that's been there's an adaptation for via Netflix, but the author is Julia May Jonas, and I believe it originally started as a play, or it was being written at the time for play. And there are instances when you're watching this 6 episode, I believe it's 6 episodes. Sorry, hold on. Sorry about the audio. Yes, it's 8 episodes. I just wanted to double check. There are certain scenes, and per episode is 30 minutes. But there are certain scenes that do feel very much like a play. Like you could be watching it like off Broadway or something along those lines. But still very interesting concept. We're dealing with a very liberated coupling with our main protagonist and her husband. They have a open relationship and are aware of each other's escapades. But as like in the book we see in the series, which by the way the author I believe is executive producer for the limited series. So again, if anybody has had issues from the book to the screen play of it, that's on y'all, or that's on the author, because her vision was to make it look like this. I was very satisfied. I haven't read the book, but nonetheless, in the book, like in the series, she's very supportive of her husband. He's in the middle of some major scandal. They're both university professors for literature, being writers, and he's being accused of using his power and influence to groom students. So there's a whole perplexity there. Although the way she pans it, and I don't know if necessarily in the book, but she's supportive because she was aware of those affairs. Supposedly she didn't know of all of the affairs that he had, but one in particular had been her student. And the way they pan it out, they make it seem as if, she's just being so supportive to the point where she jeopardized that student's education because that student was on a scholarship, but because perhaps she may have been contemplating going public with what was happening with her husband, she went out of her way to like purposely fail her so that she wouldn't be eligible for her scholarship. That's not how she sees it, though, and there are a few instances where there's pushback from the former student who's now working at a bakery, a local bakery. So there is a lot, I feel like a lot of like misogyny, and it's very high brow comedy, I will say. It was very reminiscent of Frasier, not in the same yuck yuck kind of feeling, but definitely certain things like of intellect is sprinkled throughout the series. It's still very funny. There's misogyny, there's gender roles, and it was refreshing to see the main protagonist, who I believe is being played by Rachel Weisz, who, by the way, she's gorgeous, stunning. And I believe the way they depict her in the book is she's supposed to be a frump. She does not look like a frump at all. She has kind of lost a little bit of her mojo. She is very well liked as a professor. She has tenure, but she hasn't been inspired to write in a long time. Her marriage has also kind of gone loveless. Her husband's escapades that have overtaken their relationship. She feels very much trapped in this traditional mother wife role. So she hasn't felt any bit of inspiration to write until we are introduced to our Vladimir, which hence the name of the show, Vladimir, on Netflix. Is our new adjunct professor, writer, young 20-year-old. He's married in his own right with a child. He's married to Cynthia, and they have a little one. But the minute she sees him, our M character, played by Rachel Weisz, is swooning at the sight of him, drooling almost. But so there are instances where she finds herself enveloped in these fantasies with him, but I don't believe it's been like really actualized. There are instances where she does commit some kooky no-nos that the average person would probably not do, but it's almost like she's so intrigued and interested by him. Like she feels the need to know about his life, know about his current relationship. Is he genuinely happy? And she sees herself in these like moments of fantasy with him where she's like enveloped in passion and all types of craziness. And I think the more of the pressure of what's happening with her husband and him being under investigation puts more pressure on her, but she's still like inspired to continue to write what she hadn't been doing for the last 15 years. She's very happy in her role as a professor, but she misses her former life of adventure, I guess. And I found it refreshing to see it through this lens, because mostly we've always seen, especially what's his name? John Slattery, if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, from like Mad Men, right? He's playing our John. He's the husband to our main protagonist. And we're always just so used to these older men being, definitely allured and swayed by a younger person, to be like seeing yourself, with them physically and whatnot, and being involved in that passion. So we're always typically just seeing it through a male lens, but we never see it through a female lens. And the fact that there's this one instance where they invite Vladimir to come over and, kind of relax in their backyard with the pool and everything, and he's swimming shirtless, that she's fawning over him. And even though I think the husband, John, is a little ticked off, but he plays it off like it doesn't really bother him, or he was like, I was just as hot when I was his age. You could tell that she looks at him like, no, you weren't. But I like that they had this rapport where they were kind of okay with each other, flirting and maybe fantasizing about other people. And I don't even necessarily think that there was much of jealousy between them, because I think they were just okay with being open with each other. So that was a refreshing take on that. I genuinely like that. I'm not going to spoil it for you, because this is like a non-spoiler recap, but there is an instance towards the end, hence my sweater, which, by the way, I bought this sweater not even thinking that it would coincide with the series. But there's a moment in a cabin, because that's how well-to-do she is. She's not only owns a home, but also owns a cabin where she can lock herself and let all of her inspiration mojo flow. And in her trying to avoid what's happening with her husband, she escapes there with Vladimir, and we have the sexiest scenes I have ever seen. I mean, there's something, side note, Leo Woodwall is the actor who plays Vladimir, and I think I've seen him in The White Lotus. There's just a way that he like subtly looks at whoever he's acting with, that it looks menacing but sexy at the same time. He was in The White Lotus and he kind of did the same thing. So kudos to him. I do recommend the 6-part series. It's very fun, very funny. I can't rave about it enough. Watch it on Netflix. XOX. So leave me a comment in the comment section down below, and I will get